All right, family. We are in the home stretch. This is the final panel discussion of the weekend. I'm super excited about this panel. It's not all the panel, but this panel in particular, because every person on the stage is actually a close personal friend of mine. So it's a nice way to kind of end, this collective conference with a call for collective action around Black economics. So thank you. I want to introduce our fine moderator, who was the very first president of the newly formed Duke Black Alumni. We're also Wells Fargo colleagues. I succeeded her as president. And Danielle Squires is a powerhouse. She's a managing director and head of diverse segments for corporate investment banking for Wells Fargo, based in Charlotte. And she's a Duke University alumnus. Next, we have Zaid Abdul-Aleem, who was managing director at Moelis and Company. He's a Duke undergrad, Duke Graduate School alumnus, and my line brother. So welcome, Zaid. Next we have Dorian Bolden, who is the founder and chief vision officer for the Beyu Group, which is, if you've ever been in Durham, actually you've been on the quad, Beyu Blue Cafe is his restaurant. Yeah, he's got, we'll have some exciting news to share about that too here in a second. CJ Broderick is president of the Greater Durham Black Chamber of Commerce and also a senior consultant for the Equity Paradigm, and he's based here in Durham. Thanks, well, CJ. Kenneth Kelly is the chairman and CEO of First Independence Bank in Detroit, Michigan. He's also a published author. He was at our Author's Corner book table. Hopefully you all picked up his book yesterday. He's a proud alumnus of Auburn University as well as the University of Alabama. And last but certainly not least, Rodney Sampson is the co-founder of the Opportunity Hub. He's a general partner of 100 Black Angels and Allies Fund. He's a non-resident senior fellow at the Metropolitan Policy Program at the Brookings Institution. Been a professor at Morehouse. He has a graduate of Tulane University, Pennsylvania State University, College of Medicine, and Pennsylvania State University Keller School of Management. But he does all the things as you'll hear shortly. He's got a lot of things going on, so thanks, Rodney. So with that, Danielle, I'll turn it over to you.
I appreciate that, Sanders. And I thought you were gonna go down the line for all of your brothers on here, and then I'd have to step in for Kenneth and myself, Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. Hello, ladies. And Alpha Phi Alpha man down there. So with that being said, that's a great way to start. Gentlemen, wonderful to have you on this panel and great to be here. I think we should sort of level set and set the stage. So Zaid, we're gonna start with you. Tell us a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your journey, and what you do.
Yeah, so thank you. Yeah, that's a loaded question given how many years I have under my belt now, but I'll start maybe 4 things. One, I'm a kid from the south side of Chicago, grew up there, came to Duke on a football scholarship, had a mom and fathers encouraging me to pursue academics as much as football. And when I came to Duke, I was eyes wide open, was open to the opportunity for exposure, doing different things, and had a great time. I had an opportunity as a teenager to get exposure to the financial services industry. I actually was an intern at a firm called Refco, where the CEO of that company actually identified me as an accomplished student, a lot of talent, and a desire to see the world and work in the industry. And so before coming to Duke, I actually had exposure to a world that many of my peers and others didn't even know about. And so when I came to Duke, I was trying to take advantage of the opportunity in that context. Fast forward, my time in finance has been about 30 years. And 3 stints I'd cover. My first one was at Morgan Stanley. I was there about 7 years. And as it relates to this panel, I'd highlight I had the opportunity to work in investment banking in Johannesburg, South Africa. And it was the first time, having been in boardrooms surrounded and being a minority, it was the first time where on the other side of that were clients that were African descent. At the end of the meeting, we would shake hands in a very culturally consistent way. And you know, when I after work, you know, I go to a barbecue and they would be there as well. And so that was sort of the first time I really grew to appreciate sort of the cultural enrichment of, you know, doing business with people of African descent and how, you know, spiritually connected we were in that regard, which made doing business even more fulfilling. The second one was, you know, I was at Piedmont Investment Advisors, an African-American owned asset management firm, and had the joy of working with, you know, people similar to myself. The cultural consistency was definitely there. And yeah, I learned in that regard. We won an assignment from the Treasury, and we were one of 3 asset managements in the country, firms in the country, to win that mandate. And it was a result of some real rigorous plotting, methodical, strategic activism on behalf of NASP, African American Securities Organization, our firm, my line brother in DC. All of that sort of brought home to me the importance of, yeah, we have discretion of our own capital in terms of the money that we make, but the government also has a piece of that. And to the extent that that capital is allocated in our interests, it behooves us to be engaged and involved in doing that. The last piece I'll say, now I'm working at Moelis, you know, co-founder of our private funds advisory group where I work with private equity firms. And while I'm in a majority owned firm, my clients, many of which are African American owned firms. So 2 things, I look to try and help them, you know, be successful, raise capital, but also, you know, that's my foundation. You know, that is, you know, the innovation that comes from us, the things that we create. You know, I have a privilege of being able to support, and ultimately that makes me more valuable. And the last thing I would say, you know, while the cultural affinity is very important and, you know, our community lifting as we rise is important, I wouldn't have gotten there without allies that, you know, were not of the diaspora, if you will. And so, you know, that's important as well. As much as we are, you know, a support system for each other, there are people that look to help us that don't look like us as well.
So I appreciate that, Zaid. 2 things I took from that one, and we'll have to discuss more cultural consistency at some point in time. I thought that was a good one. And I also thought that Sanders and I should talk to you about joining Wells, right? Like, that was a really good discussion there, so we should talk after. Dorian, coming to you, my fellow O2 grad, I have great stories about Dorian if anybody needs. Can you, sort of that same question, tell us a little bit about your journey, and then specifically with you, I think you have something new to tell us about too, so make sure to talk about that.
Sure. You know, kind of similar to what Zaid was saying, I, you know, came here to Duke. I think the irony, right, for me, I came from all-black high school in Atlanta, come to Duke, culture shock, and, you know, didn't necessarily think this was going to work out after first year of academic probation. But, you know, pushed through, and, you know, I think the irony of that, right, of the social dynamics of, you know, being a sociology major and an economics major led me to pursuing a career in finance after I graduated. And so that career in finance was kind of the trajectory for me, only to realize that, you know, after my father passed, simultaneously we were going through a merger, just made me realize tomorrow isn't guaranteed. And I think for me, that's where entrepreneurship was born, where I wanted to be in control of my own destiny. So quit my job in finance. Of course, shocks everybody who's supporting me. It's like, what are you doing? You know, leaving the salary and followed the road less traveled. This pretty girl I met at Duke in my college years and moved to North Carolina, married her, and started kind of this new journey, and this entrepreneurial journey. And so when this idea of wanting to create this place where people could come and belong stems from my upbringing in Atlanta, a coffee shop called Cafe Intermezzos, and it was this 16th century European cafe. Now it's over 40 years it's been in existence. But late night, you go in there, all the AUC schools, Morehouse, Clark, Spelman, like just brothers and sisters all around in this beautiful atmosphere. And that for me was the inspiration behind Beyu, a place where you could just come and be yourself. And I wanted to create that sort of atmosphere. So, in 2009, after leaving the world of finance and, making minimum wage, working at Panera Bread, learning the business and working at other restaurants, we ended up opening the first location. We were 90% debt finance. Was able to get a couple of investors, but mostly through, the landlord tenant improvement dollars and loans, we were able to just hit the ground running. And it was a struggle for the first couple of years, but eventually we expanded and we ended up purchasing a building to kind of secure our flagship in 2015. And finally, thank you. And it was, a whole story behind of really trying to create that sense of wealth and realizing the marathon race. And so in 2018, opened up our second location here at Duke with Beyu Blue Coffee. And that's where I really saw the model of, small but maximizing sales per square foot. And so from there, when you start off, packing coffee beans in your house to now you have 2 locations, COVID hits, things are crazy. But that sense of innovation was always there. And so we innovated. We turned our restaurant into a food production center, and we ended up providing meals, tackling food insecurity for frontline healthcare responders and teachers and the community. Thank you. And so since then, we've served over 400,000 individual meals, and it's what entrepreneurs do. We end up innovating. After COVID, we end up opening 2 new locations, one at Duke Law School, one in RTP, right? And so 4 locations, and then just last week, we've announced that we're going to be opening 2 locations by the end of the year at Raleigh-Durham International Airport, which is a big step for us. So yeah, that for me has been the struggle. And so, from COVID, learning how to reach out to investors, we went through a small equity raise, so learning how to go through that piece of, mom and pop CEO, business owner to CEO, where you go from, 17 to 70 team members in over the course of 14 months. So learning how to elevate and really begin to attract and retain great people, and learning how it's not just my business, but our company. And it's just a different mindset. So having to learn through that piece now and develop systems versus it's all hands-on in Dorian's head has been the evolution now of where we are. And so it's just enjoying the journey.
I appreciate that, Dorian. That was great. And one of the things you said towards the end was the equity raise. And so I think we'll be talking a little bit about that as a panel today, that how important on our Black Wall Street the equity raises are. And so thank you for that. You also mentioned Intermezzo, which, by the way, both Buckhead and the Perimeter location are fantastic if you've never been to Atlanta. Clearly, if you're in Durham, go to Beyu. In Atlanta, Intermezzo is fun. CJ, tell us a little bit about your journey and what you're doing today.
Yeah, like Dorian and Zaid, Duke alumni also, and I won't talk too much about my time here at Duke, but since Duke, I've been fascinated with community. I think before Duke, I was been a part of some different communities that made a really strong impression on me, but I think at Duke I also found community in different ways, whether it was the engineering community, whether it was the black community in general, or my fraternity, Kappa Alpha Psi, Iota Xi. I found community in so many places that I think once I graduated and was thinking about what I wanted to do the rest of my life, I was thinking about my sense of community as a young person, as a teenager, and I found out about this Black Wall Street thing here in Durham. And I had become an entrepreneur here, and I kept looking around the community trying to find this Black Wall Street thing, and it kind of became, to some degree, a chase for me, right? And I was trying to figure out where were the businesses and so on and so forth. And I found out there was a group that I just started called the Black Chamber of Commerce. I joined, became a member after some time, joined their board of directors, and after some time started to lead the organization. And I blinked and it was 10 years later. And I was on this stage telling you about what we've been doing for 10 years. But it's been a fantastic journey. I've learned so much about entrepreneurship, about my own journey, other entrepreneurs that we supported. In the process, my wife started a racial equity consulting firm, and I thought I knew so much about being Black in America and being Black in business and starting community organizations. And through the process of engaging with her firm and executing work for clients, so much of that work ended up coming back into the work that we were doing here in Durham. It continues to inform a lot of the work we're doing here. So I'm excited to share any of those tidbits with you. But I'll stop there.
Thank you, CJ. And we're all gonna discuss what actually Black Wall Street means. And so thank you for mentioning that, and be prepared. I'm gonna start with you for that question. So Chairman Kelly, fantastic, and thank you for being here. Tell us a little bit about your journey, and you actually did a thing on Tuesday. And so I think we all wanna hear more about that too.
You didn't want to lead into that?
I'm just gonna leave it right there.
Okay.
There. It's for you.
All right. Thank you, Danielle. And let me say thank you all for being here on a Saturday afternoon. It says a lot about who you are to spend time with us in this moment. So before I go further, I have to tell you who I am first and whose I am. One of the things that you heard up here on this stage throughout the last 2 days is the understanding of our own need to really regenerate ourselves, put water into ourselves. So who I am, I'm a father of 2 and a husband of, will be 27 years in June. Mm-hmm. And as you all, thank you. We need more double parent households. We know what the outcomes are, and I don't mean that disrespectfully, but my point is we can work smarter is all I'm gonna say on that issue. Whose I am, I have 4 generations. Started with a slave that was brought into Barber County, Alabama, Eufaula, the home of George C. Wallace. 4 generations buried in the ground there. I'm the first to attend college, went to Auburn University, studied electrical engineering, and then went to the University of Alabama and got my executive MBA. I see OC, my fraternity brother over there of Alpha, by the way, my Kappa brother. And Stacy Hill, who you heard from on the previous panel. And I also want to acknowledge a classmate, Nate Hill, Nate Rutledge, who's a Sigma over here. I see he's over there taping me. But long story short, what I'm telling you is my story is not just about me and what you'll hear in the titles that have been read. It is a village of a lot of individuals pouring into me, and I think all of us have to really reach back and understand, as it was talked about yesterday, we all have boots. These are my boots. My boots include individuals who have fought for us to sit here at this table. So what I do, I currently serve as the chairman and CEO of First Independence Bank. We're the 7th largest African-American owned and controlled bank in the country. Thank you. There are only roughly 17 of us out of almost 5,000 banks in the country. You do the math on that. And so what we do every day is try to do our best to be sure that we can serve the community. Now, to the announcement, Danielle, our strategic vision is to figure out how to make Wall Street beyond Main Street, or MLK, depending on where you live. But the reality is what we did this week was phenomenal. We made an announcement and had a ribbon cutting on University in Minneapolis, St. Paul, the home of where George Floyd was murdered. That happened and created history this week. On Tuesday, Danielle sat next to me as Wells Fargo was a partner in that. We basically had 5 banks to be partners in that. Bank of America, Bremer Bank, Huntington Bank, I've mentioned Wells Fargo, and US Bank. Unprecedented where you have 5 competitors looking to make an opportunity to make things better in that market. So I'll close there, but that was our exciting news this week, opening.
So now you see why I didn't need any more words to introduce Chairman Kelly, right? Perfectly, the words need to come from him. And what he also didn't say, but maybe we assumed, is it's the first Black-owned bank in Minnesota.
Wow.
And what he also didn't say is there should be a second branch in June. More to come. Rodney, tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey and what you're doing today.
Sure. Good afternoon, everyone. All right. It's good to be here. I'm an Atlanta native. Atlanta. And I like how you contextually framed your introduction about who you were. And I'm a husband of, this year, be 24 years. My wife is here somewhere. She's a Howard grad, so there you go. Yeah. Together we have 6 children. And I have to say together, because folks be trying to act like there's some baby mamas out there. No, we have 6 children together, and exciting day for us because our oldest daughter is, she's being sworn into Phi Beta Kappa today at Spelman. And she got into 10 PhD programs. She's headed to UPenn for her PhD in computer science. So shout out to Princess. And her brother, our first son, he's graduating from Morehouse in computer science as well. And he just crossed Psi Chapter last week, actually. It's my number.
That's a blessing.
And yeah, so really excited. So we're really excited about their legacies. Professionally, I'll go back. So about 22 years ago, I was one of the co-creators of the delivery of audio and video across the internet. We didn't call it streaming then. You call it streaming now. But I co-founded a company that commercialized that technology called Multicast Media Technologies, and that company was acquired in 2010 for $24 million. And that experience, just building a high-growth technology startup from the ground up, really changed and sort of transformed how I thought about everything, about work, about life and living. I would say over the last 22 years, and my wife is my partner in business. I work for her unapologetically.
Smart.
Oh, yeah. And we've raised and invested over $20 million in about 200 companies. Today we have a real small venture fund, and I'll tell you why it's small, but it's called 100 Black Angels and Allies Fund. And a few years ago, we set out to actually introduce more Black people to the asset class of early stage investing, venture capital investing in particular. And it's been quite a journey there. But we actively invest in high growth companies. Most of those are software companies and startups. I've published 4 books. The one that most people know about is on Kingonomics, 12 innovative currencies for transforming your business and life, inspired by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. I think the print is probably sold out. Paperback is coming out, but it's on Audible now as well. I'm a non-resident senior fellow at the Brookings Institution, and I work in the Metropolitan Policy Institute, where we study the racial wealth gap. We study all things economics as it relates to policy, and I've worked with Brookings to really codify some frameworks for diversity, equity, and inclusion solutions in economics. And actually, for the last 2 years, I just completed a tenure here as a visiting Cohane visiting professor between UNC, Chapel Hill, and Duke. And I taught 2 certificate programs. One I'm really proud of called the Black Technology Ecosystem Investment Certificate. So this is my first time on Duke's campus, and my professorship just ended. So I had to pick up a little swag, Sanders, before. Yeah. Root to the good, bruh.
Well, Rodney, I appreciate that, and I think it's really evident that we have the right people on the panel, correct? Everybody thinks that, yes. And so there's a lot to discuss and not necessarily a lot of time, and so we're just going to dive in a little bit, and I'll ask each one of you to comment on each of these, and if the spirit moves you, jump in as well. So, CJ, as promised, I'm going to come back to you and start with you. When we talk about Black Wall Street, first of all, the panel is called the New Black Wall Street. People think of Black Wall Street as a place. People think about what it was, where it was, how it was. And now we need to think about what it will be. What's your thought of Black Wall Street?
Well, yeah, it's evolving. I'm still chasing some of the space and place ideas and trying to understand what that means. But I'm also now, as a function of the pandemic, we've all seen how small the world is in essence, right? How people are doing business without ever seeing each other, and doing things globally much more easily. And so, 10 years ago, I was just now starting to really dive into understanding Black Wall Street's release of Durham. And I think now, after 10 years of really studying what Durham was, why it was successful, what happened to Black Wall Street in Durham, and what happened in other areas, I think there are many different components that, through many different partnerships and studies, we've been trying to figure out what that looks like in a more bigger, in a broader way. And I won't jump into maybe too deep an answer now, but I think one of the things I find that keeps me steady in the work that we're doing is this need for strong institutions. Chairman Kelly, the institution you're running, I think is a testament to some of the institutions that are necessary, and what you said, Rodney, about high growth, high impact, organizations or entrepreneurs and companies. There's such a huge gap, right, between what Black entrepreneurs that are just now doing their first startup are thinking about as relates to what's fundable, what's high growth, what's high impact, and how that even relates to the Black Wall Street of old. And so much education has to happen, I think, and there's a need for institutions to do that. And I think, again, we'll get into some of that conversation a little bit later on, but the answer to your question is that it's still evolving for me, right? I think there's still a need for local, place-based education exposure, right, to entrepreneurship and what it means for Black business, for Black communities. As it relates to Durham, I'll just tell you a quick story, then I'll pass. Or I think if you've read anything about what Black Wall Street meant for Durham, there's a quote I believe from Booker Washington, and he came in here in the early 20th century and said, "Wow," and he's the one that coined Black Wall Street for Durham. And said, "This is one of the few places I've been, the only place I've been where just about everything you need, to live as a Black person is right here in your Black community. Your bank, your insurance, your mattress company, your ice cream company, your food, everything it was there." And was just fascinated by how self-sustaining in a business standpoint the Black community was here in Durham. And so just, again, studying what that meant for Durham back in the early 20th century and what that means now, right? If you want to do a raise, is there someone culturally, whether you're in Durham, in South Africa, or in Minneapolis, that can understand, who you are, what community you're trying to work in? And so again, I'll just again say that it's evolving, and I'm excited to hear a lot of ideas and even some questions about what that means here, but also what it continues to grow to be.
Thank you, CJ. Zaid, picking up on what CJ said, that it's multifactorial and there's lots of components to this. I think of companies like Mocafy, right, in New York, and what they did in LA, Greenwood in Atlanta, First Independence in Detroit and then Minneapolis, 100 Black Angels, right? So in this digital world and in this world where we are everywhere, or we should be everywhere, what's your thought on what Black Wall Street is in that greater sense of who Black Wall Street is?
Yeah, thanks for that question. For me, Black Wall Street represents, any space where people of the diaspora, whether it's here in the States, Africa, Europe, wherever, collectively decide amongst themselves how to allocate their capital in the interest of their communities and in the interest of getting a return on that capital. And, it's plain speak, it's simplified, but that's, to me, the core of it. And if you look at, Rodney talked about the racial equity and equity gap. If you look at average net worth for our communities, 8x less than non-African Americans. And, I think a lot of times in our pursuit of excellence, our pursuit of success, we feel that accomplishment, but if it's only on an individual level, it's very fragile. Mm-hmm. If the rest of your community is 8x less than in net worth than the rest of the communities, you're in a very precarious situation. And so for me, Black Wall Street can happen, anywhere where we as a collective group decide on how we do business, decide on what we do with our capital, decide on how we engage our politicians, our local, federal government, on how they spend our money, engage on who gets the subsidies through the IRS and tax loopholes. That to me is Black Wall Street.
So I'm going to do my best to sum up what you said. I think you said we're all Black Wall Street, right? This collective is Black Wall Street, and I think that's something we want to make sure we take from it. So the next question to Chairman Kelly and Rodney, and Chairman Kelly, I'll ask you to go first. How do diverse sectors of the Black community level up, right? Come together to create this economic engine and growth for the Black and African American community?
Thanks, Danielle, for that. I would tell you, it is all of us. We are Black Wall Street. Wall Street was, I'm not going to get into the history, you can look that up, but the point is, the days of old where we could always shop with each other in segregation, that day has come and gone. And we have to figure out how to be very strategic in moving in an economy where money is the representative of oxygen. You understand what I'm trying to say? Mm-hmm. You need oxygen to breathe. And in a capitalistic society, money is the oxygen. And so for us, what we believe is that we can be as broad as we can be and understanding how to pull individuals into the mission of ensuring that our families first are taken care of. And I'm going to ask a question. I'm going to get on a mission in just a moment. And let me ask this in an indirect way. How many of you have family members who do not have a will? That's about right. That's about right. I'm not going to ask you personally. There's an action item for you when you leave here. And it will change the discussion around Wall Street. Because as we talk, you heard Zaid just mention that it's an 8X factor, 10X, depending on which survey you look at. The fact that we don't demonstrate what I call unconditional love, and let me explain that. Conditional love says, as long as I'm here and my wife is here, I make a salary, I'm taking care of the family. I'm not concerned about unconditional love, which is I got a life insurance policy on her, I have a life insurance policy on me, so that when I leave, my unconditional love, I'm gone, remember? Unconditional love says, at least they won't have to go to work right away. You understand what I'm trying to say? And so I say that to say we can't worry about others until we take care of ourselves. And so I ask all of you as an action item, I saw the hands, the will rate in the African American community is 30%. CNBC, look it up, just said it's a state of emergency in the black community. So we have an action when we leave here on this issue. So if we take care of that street, then we can start thinking about how we can set up the second generation to invest in 100 Angels. Then we can look at Dorian and supporting him on VCs. But right now we have a community where we're just surviving. You can't even consider thriving because you're still surviving.
I appreciate that, right? So Rodney, we all just set up our wills for everybody. So now we're past surviving. Talk about 100 Black Angels and thriving as a, this diverse sector of the Black community, uplifting the Black community.
One, to address just kind of also, just briefly, Black Wall Street, while we kind of look at the history of Black Wall Street here and, really the different Black Wall Streets we had across America, from Greenwood and Tulsa to Sweet Auburn, in Atlanta. We also got to look at how those safe spaces, those economic safe spaces, where the currency was innovation, the currency was trade, the currency was investment and retail in each other, was destroyed by white state. And so if you don't learn your history, you're bound to repeat it. And I think because a lot of us, whether we're first, second, third, or fourth generation recipients of higher education, somehow in that process we were convinced that our acclimation or assimilation towards the white gaze would give us the upward mobility required to create a living legacy. And I think what we have determined is that really that collective individualism that a lot of us practice, or that onlyism, I'm the only one in the room and I'm the first to do that and the last, because I didn't open up the door, is that when you start talking about Black Wall Street, there definitely has to be some type of collective efforts. Not one of us can do it alone in terms of creating a Black Wall Street. Now, to answer the question a little bit more definitively, you got to also understand that we're now in what economists or just even technologists are calling the fourth industrial revolution. Now, I would argue that there have been 5 industrial revolutions because folks want to forget how legalized chattel slavery was an industrial revolution. We were the product and we were commoditized and commercialized and monetized. But if you put that to the side a minute and you look at the different industrial revolutions, each of these industrial revolutions in sort of in economic antiquity produced Black Wall Streets. If you think about historically Black colleges and universities, they were brought online in the first industrial revolution. You look at Black cities, Black Wall Streets were brought online in the second industrial revolution. And it seems that as a people, we're sort of still stuck there. Collectively, we missed the third industrial revolution in terms of technology and innovation as a collective goal. And then now that we're in the fourth industrial revolution that is being driven by AI and machine learning, the blockchain, augmented reality, virtual reality, quantum computing, and then you juxtapose that to the pandemic, which basically accelerated us into the fourth industrial revolution and the demise of the third and second and first industrial revolution, kind of economic stalwarts or what have you. 60% of net new jobs are coming from high growth startups. I talk to audiences of Black people consistently that look at startups as like cute, like, oh, that's nice. It's kind of like pat on the backs, where our non-Black entrepreneurs are creating new multi-generational wealth with no reliance on pre-existing multi-generational wealth while we're still looking at old economy models to take us into the future. And the bottom line, they just won't. So I think as a community for us to look at what Black Wall Street will look like, for our community, we've really got to get a firm understanding on how the fourth industrial revolution will impact our ability to live and work, but also our ability to create new wealth.
I really appreciate that, Rodney, and I can absolutely tell you, specifically within our community, we don't often talk about blockchain or quantum computing, the things that we need to get in now to be a part of what's happening today and potentially create what's happening tomorrow, right? And so I appreciate that. I also appreciate the idea that at some point in time, we might have to have a second follow-up of this when he explains all that to everybody as well. And so,
well, we've already productized it, so we have it available.
Perfect,
Yeah.
perfect. So, Dorian, let me come to you. Successful entrepreneur, moving forward, expanding. What are we doing right in our community to uplift and move Black and African American businesses forward in your experience? And what can we be doing a lot better from what you have seen?
I think, for one, I wanted to kind of segue into that to comment on the new Black Wall Street. And I think for what everyone has mentioned, it really talks about financial freedom, but the reality of what freedom truly means, to have the freedom to take risks. And I think there has been no greater example of what that looks like from a microcosm of the COVID situation, where when other mostly non-Black businesses faced hardship, for no fault of their own, of course, but you saw the bailout from the government of here's money. And to experience that, because we had set ourselves up for that, it was the first time to really see what it felt like to have the freedom to take risks that most of us as people of color, we just don't get a chance to do, whether it's for resources or infrastructures or systems. And so the ability to create more of that where we can allow our brothers and sisters to take that risk, because if they don't have the resources or it is a unique dream that they're trying to build on, how do we create the infrastructure that protects them and allow them to fail? I mean, other counterparts are failing all the time. And yet they are giving the chances day after day because they appear to be a safe bet. And that was the thing that I've learned when going through an equity raise of, regardless that I went to Duke, regardless that I worked in finance and I knew return on capital, regardless of the fact that I had experience for over 10 years, compared to some other counterparts who may be fresh out of college, who had no experience, they are still seen as a safer bet. Black Wall Street needs to be able to create that infrastructure that allows brothers and sisters to be able to have that same example. And that's the beauty. Like you say, this is it right here, between our Black banks, between our Black venture funds and investors, and being able to take that risk and knowing that it will pay off. When I think of what we're doing right, I think it is that. There are so many, if we think about, we're now seeing this Black elite class that has the ability to invest in small businesses. So it's like, yeah, you can put your money in the stock market and buy stocks, or you can form an investment club and invest in a local business in your community. That's what happened with me. Like what you see with the success of Beyu is the success of the Black community. My original investors were, predominantly Black. However, the resources that really gave us the bulk of it, they were not. And so when we then became and started raising equity, we were able to work with Resilient Ventures, which I know Keith Daniels, one of the managing partners here today. Again, they are investing in Black women-led businesses. And so but you don't find too many venture funds that are doing the same thing. And so I think we have to find ways to create more of an ecosystem of capital to invest in Black businesses, knowing that they're not going to have the resources. They're going to need sometimes some training, some development to get to where they, to get to that success. And it's going to take time, and we have to be patient. And sometimes with Wall Street, there's no patience, it's profits. And if we have to think differently as Black Wall Street, that it's going to require patience, It's going to require time, it's going to require mentorship, and that return is just going to be a little bit slower, but it will pay off in the end to create that generational wealth of what you're talking about. They didn't make it overnight, neither can we.
Danielle, I'd like to jump in on
Yeah,
this a little bit.
I saw you sort of pulling that
Yes.
mic close, so
You see, thank you. This topic is very complex, but I want to thank Sanders and Lisa Borders and Derek for their leadership here. It's unprecedented what you see here. I counted early in the session 138 people out here on a Saturday talking about this. And so, as Dorian just talked about this, we have to figure out how do we leverage this. What is the agenda coming from this collection? The undergirding trust that we are building and being here are the relationships that one day, who knows, we might be doing something together, right? Across this table and out in the audience. And so we shouldn't take for granted, as you hear us up here as talking heads, you engaging as the audience and thinking about how do we strengthen these relationships in such a way that, you know, I'm calling Dorian, Dorian's calling and saying, hey, by the way, I've got this great idea and don't have the funding for it. Who do you know that might be interested in it? Because that is the infrastructure that we haven't had in our community. Well, let me say it's not as developed. Let me be clear about that. It's not as developed. And so we ought to all be thinking about how to do that. And to Zaid's point, we're all part of the new Black Wall Street.
Yeah. If I can say too, Chairman Kelly, you're so right, because those conversations, those networks, they're happening behind the scenes. That's the beauty of Black excellence and Black Wall Street. Oh, it's happening. And these conversations of how we're helping each other out behind the scenes, because we recognize the power structure that we live in. And so we can't always be evident and out front. But again, some of our community leaders, we do need some people out front to be loud and to hold people accountable. That's also a part of Black Wall Street, where we have to support our community leaders and our nonprofits that, hey, they're not afraid to be on the front line and hold people accountable so that we can operate behind the scenes, sometimes in the boardrooms where we're the minority in these meetings, so that we can also play the card. You know, go back to Thurgood Marshall, right? He had to be the one, you know, doing what he had to do to move up in the Supreme Court, while MLK and Malcolm X, on two different sides of the argument, were pushing on the streets. That's modern day Black Wall Street, is what I see.
Could I chime in really quickly? You saw it coming out.
That's all.
She's on. I think when you talk about the new Black Wall Street, we also got to look at what are the unit economics of opportunity. And what I mean by that, 3 weeks ago I was excited to be back on Capitol Hill, you know, in real life, participating in the 10-year anniversary of the Jumpstart Our Business Startups Act that was passed by President Obama in 2013. What it did was that law that he signed, and a few of us worked really across the aisle to get that through Congress and to the president's desk at the time. It modernized the Securities and Exchange Commission rules. And I won't go down the rabbit hole on, you know, what does the SEC deem as an accredited investor and who is qualified to, you know, invest in startups and venture funds as limited partners or what have you. But it modernized the rules to the point that it allowed everyday Americans to participate with small amounts of capital in small businesses and in startups. And, you know, we've been champions of this legislation at the federal and the state level for over a decade, but we saw something happen in 2020. And it was, you know, it was right after, you know, the heinous, you know, murders of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and Ahmaud Arbery. We saw these Black tech startups going to platforms like Seed Invest and Start Engine. And I saw Black women who have been struggling to raise their seed rounds of $1 million, close these rounds in, you know, less than 3 days. You know, and I'm gonna give you some people to look up, some homework, you know, look up Dawn Dixon with Popcom. We invested in her startup. Let's look at Angela Benton and Streamalytics. She raised $1 million in 3 days. And so everyone, you know, will tell you, like, just, you know, wait till you have made it until you start taking risk in this asset class. And I'm going to say, if you wait until you are an accredited investor, it's too late. We have to figure out, so like this collective, the reason I agreed to come, one, because Sanders asked, but every time I go speak, I have to get permission, one, from my wife, and two, my speakers bureau had to say, where are you going to speak for free? Because we don't like you speaking for free. But the reason I came to do it was because when you build community, if you all as an actionable item, and I say we all, because Tulane is a part of this now as well, as an actionable item is to figure out whether it's monthly, quarterly, or annually, how do you use the new securities laws like equity crowdfunding, and how do you invest in someone in the collective every month? You know, actionable items. If there are accredited investors here, and maybe there's a survey that goes out. One, as a people, we don't talk about money enough. We're very transparent. I'm tired of getting y'all GoFundMes when it's time to bury y'all relatives.
Right.
And it's because that's what we don't talk about money in our communities, and we got to be transparent about the data. Who's accredited? Who's not accredited? How do we help you become accredited, right? And then those groups can be investing frequently. One thing I've learned, and my wife and I practice, is we invest every month in something. And it's usually in something that's started by a Black person, and lately it's been Black women, okay? So,
I mean, honestly, there was a lot there to summarize. So I think what I'll start by saying is, first and foremost, I'm hoping this is considered in kind with your Speakers Bureau, because the wisdom you're giving us, I think it's going to pay back to the community tenfold at least. So we thank you, Rodney, for that. And then also I took from it that, Dorian, when you're ready for your Series B or second raise, then I think we have a collective for you, right? And so that's a good thing to know. And then I throw that out to both Sanders and Allison as well. You know, forming the Black Alumni Collective over these years has been amazing. There might be a fund that comes out of it too, right? So lots of things to think about. When we get a room filled of this Black excellence, things will happen, and that's fantastic. So we wanted to take some time and open it up for questions. And so if anybody has questions, please come down, and you can kind of line up depending on where it was being. We don't have, I'm looking at Lisa and Derek over there. While they're up next, they look comfortable, so we have some time if we need it. And so I'll start with Ann over here.
Thanks, Danielle. Gentlemen and Danielle, I want to thank you. And this question is for you, Rodney, because you just hit on this topic of accredited investors. I'm an accredited investor, but one of the things that I'm wondering is, what advice do you have specifically, because it's not lost on me, by the way, that you are all men, minus Danielle. So what advice do you have about women who are either already accredited investors or have the ability to be accredited investors, or on their way to be participating with you all in the work that you're doing?
Absolutely. So back in 2020, our organization, 100 Black Angels and Allies Fund, an Opportunity Hub, we partnered with the Links Incorporated. It was the first time that the Links Incorporated basically created an investment syndicate of accredited high net worth women and made an investment in an early stage high risk venture fund. That's number one. And they did it in an unprecedented amount of time. When I talked to the president of the organization, and she said it was just all of the factors that they'd been looking at, all of the things in the past, trying to do, you know, you can't put new wine in old, you know, that. But they did something new and unprecedented. The second thing we did was we created an investment certificate that would educate people, accredited women in this instance, on the asset class. And so in our investment certificate, we had 30 women, Black women from the Links Incorporated, various churches, various chapters around the country, go through the certificate program to learn how to invest. What I will tell you is that one is just knowing is half the battle. So you got to know the Black women where you can put your money at. You know, if you're looking at venture funds, you got Fearless Fund out of Atlanta. I'm on the investment committee. You got Keisha Cash, who has a venture fund as well. You've got more Black women starting venture funds. Next, when you go to sites like, you know, if it's forming syndicates so that you don't have to go alone and do it by yourself. And so find that tribe of women that you all have an aligned investment thesis and you decide we're going to go after this together. And the Black tech startup and venture ecosystem needs to do a better job on educating just the Black collective in general on where these deals are. But like we see them every week. There's Ariana with a startup, a blockchain startup called Moelis. She just announced $3 million yesterday that she's raised for her round. You could have been in that as an accredited investor, but you just didn't know about it. So,
Thank you for that. And I feel like it's important then to sort of stand here for Black women. So what Sanders said is it's important to know also what I do. I head up our diverse segments business for the corporate and investment bank, and why that's important is we actually seek to maximize positive outcomes for diverse clients and specifically grant greater access to the capital markets. And so through our group, we've invested $50 million in 13 Black MDIs specifically, seeded $20 million for the Black Entrepreneurs Alliance Fund that will only fund Black companies. And so while I work on that institutional and corporate side, I run a fund through Wells Fargo that actually invests in every single business that we've spoken about. So
Let me put that plainly. She is a powerful Black woman that invested in our bank, and that was presented on Tuesday. It was a reason we were able to move into Minneapolis. Not only did she invest, they made a donation. The building was donated to a nonprofit organization because they were an investor in us, such that we could actually open in Minneapolis. So let me say that very plainly, Danielle.
Thank you, Kenneth.
You being modest. Thank you.
So Ann, I appreciate the question and know we are well represented up here. Please. Thank you.
Thank you. Nathaniel Rutledge, Auburn University, Auburn, Alabama. I'm an Auburn fan, right? No doubt about it.
That jacket helps us along.
It helps you to know, absolutely. Right. And so I became an Auburn fan in the 5th grade, okay? So one of the things that excites me about that is I knew where I wanted to go to college, but I had not, of course, as a young man, thought about how I would leverage college to go where I want to go. Last week, I was at a young entrepreneurs conference. 36 young people from kindergarten to 18 years old participated in presenting whatever their entrepreneurship was. I got extremely excited when I saw this 4th grader who was a DJ. He called himself DJ Babyface. And while he mystified the crowd with his DJ prowess, he also was selling popcorn on the side, and his specialty was kiwi. And people kept coming back. At first, they went over to him because he was cute, but then they kept coming back because his kiwi popcorn was good. Then there was a 7th grader who made lemonade, but he had lemonade in 9 different flavors in it, all tasted and looked good, but I said, I can't really have that, you know, I'm a diabetic. He said, but I got you, brother, I got sugar-free. Yeah. My point in this is initially, as soon as I saw this, I said, okay, how can I get these kids recruited to Auburn University? And how can I help them and their parents to maximize this ability that these kids have developed, all of which pretty much stated that they developed it during COVID since they didn't have anything to do and they were stuck in the house, and they came up with these ideas. And I'm trying to figure out how these ideas won't just get lost, but how they can be invested into. into somebody's college, into somebody's business. And I know you don't have to go to college to be great, but it sure is an extra incentive to give you more and more opportunities. Your thoughts on that, your ideas on that, and what steps we might want to take.
CJ, yeah.
I'll share something that it's probably not going to answer the question, but I've been trying to hold this thought together and not say much of it. But I want to take it back to the bigger task at hand in my head, right? And what I've been working on for the last little bit and what keeps me up at night sometimes. Again, once I started doing racial equity work, it blew my mind, right? I have been a black man in the U.S. for X amount of years, and I've been privileged at some times. I had not privileged at other times, and I started to kind of piece it together. I'm still piecing it together. We're all still on this journey. But here's a summary of what I've learned and what I think is important for all of us to take home. James Baldwin says something to the effect of, the past is all that makes the present coherent, right? And there's more after that, but we really need to understand the past for us to understand what's happening right now, and then to figure out together what that means for the future, right? As a people, we need to understand that very, very pointed things happen in these colonial lands that then became the United States that have shaped our sense of self, our sense of everything as it relates to now. A couple quick points. We need to understand that in the 17th century, late 17th century, whiteness was codified. In the late 17th century, early 18th century, not only was whiteness codified, but it was incentivized. So as you incentivize whiteness, you disincentivize everything other than whiteness, right? And so all of us have been socialized in these United States in that context, right? That blackness is disincentivized, right? And all of us that are here, and I want to make a point here that I think is important for us to think about in the context of Black Wall Street, right? Durham had enough of a slave population here, right? That as Durham became Durham in the mid-19th century, if you in essence, right? That population with new access to freedom was able to then create, from the beginning of Durham, to create wealth and access in a unique way in Durham. In the middle of the 20th century, when integration happened, right, as those communities and those trades and so on and so forth became fractured, right, people had more choice to do different things. So much of that just vanished, right? And there are certain lessons for us as it relates to access to wealth, power, whatever, but just access based on whiteness or lack of access based on being black or a person of color that translate to today, right? And so as we think about going forward, and some of those lessons of Black Wall Street you'll see here in Durham is that not all of Black Durham had access either, right? There was a certain lack of access to those that were not a part of a certain class of folks, right? And so there was a big discrepancy here in Durham and blacks that had it and blacks that didn't have it, right? And so think about Black Wall Street going forward, right? That's one of the, it's much more important for us to understand how we've all been socialized and how blackness has been disincentivized and try to figure out how to flip that, right? One of the things that's been great with this recent, these recent initiatives to invest in blackness is all of a sudden, for the first time ever in the United States, blackness is incentivized, right? And you're seeing the product of that, right? But how do we understand what's really happening and what's happened? Because only 10%, 5% of folks that are ready now for high growth, high impact are going to be able to enter these, And so we're going to leave a lot of people behind in this new Black Wall Street if we don't understand the bigger picture as to how to incentivize blackness, right? And then to add to that point, a lot of us have become very, very fluent in white dominant culture, right? You walk into your office, you can turn it on, you can turn it off, you've mastered it. And as a function of that, you've been really, really successful. But we need institutions, scores, dozens, hundreds, thousands of institutions to be able to help everybody else that haven't mastered it. Because Blackness is still, by and large, disincentivized. And so that's a bigger picture. So to answer your question, what do we do for the next generation, so on and so forth, right? We figure out, by and large, how to incentivize Blackness and how to create institutions, organizations, I think, right, that will ensure that they can thrive. And everybody here has heard of the NAACP and sees their work. You know, we need to get involved in organizations like that, but we need to also create newer, stronger, well-endowed organizations, right, that we lead, we control, that have access, that have resources, that will ensure that whether you're in Alabama, you're in Minneapolis, wherever you are, that you're growing up Black in America, that you don't feel like, you don't walk out and feel like disincentivized, right? So it's a roundabout way of answering your question, but that's how I answer it.
Yeah, Nate, I would say when we see genius, we need to water it and fertilize it, period. And all of us are products up here because someone loved us. We talked about the metaphor of boots, et cetera. But I would say when you see genius, water it and fertilize it, wherever it may be, because of all of the socialization that's happened. And so what we know about those kids, they haven't been in, quote, doctrinated yet, whatever that means, telling them they can't do this or you can't do that, right? And sometimes we are our own worst enemy. I've been there, self-doubt, it happens to all of us if we're real. And so I would just say, water it, fertilize it.
If I could add one last thing too, is utilize the institution, as CJ was saying. And, local school systems, colleges, they have resources. So allowing those kids to go into their schools and use some of those resources that they can expand on their ideas. And again, I know, the school system is another topic in terms of funding, but some schools do have resources. So again, when you think about after I graduated, Duke created this entrepreneurship program. And again, they were able to be incubators for so many bright ideas. If you think about local schools, from elementary to high school to colleges, have them help invest in these young people and use their dollars to invest these dreams.
Hey, let me give you a real resource as well. Go to opportunityhub.co, opporunityhub.co/futures, and have all of those students sign up for a free membership. We've partnered with IBM, offering over 14,000 badges, certificates. But there's also Opportunity Hub has hundreds of hours entrepreneurship content specifically. There's a K through 12 track, and then there's an adult track. Get them on there for free. It's free for them to sign up. opportunityhub.co/futures, and just have them consume all of that content. Because unfortunately, when we still just send them into white spaces and we send them into these kind of older institutions, they'll become distracted with just simply trying to pass classes, and they will lose that entrepreneurial spirit unless it is fostered in them through the process.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, so we are running out of time, and I think we have two questions. I'm actually gonna go here first since you were waiting for a while, and then we're gonna go here. So go ahead, you can go first.
Hi, everyone. So I just graduated from Duke about a year back, and I've been trying to get started my financial literacy journey, right? So during this talk, I heard you guys talk a lot about entrepreneurship and certain high-level things like wealth, asset management, and such. But my question is, for younger people that are wanting to get started, I realize that there's a very strong connection between entrepreneurship and financial literacy, right? You're not going to get very far as an entrepreneur if you don't know how to be financially literate. So my question for you guys is, getting started in that aspect, how does someone that's young getting started lay a strong groundwork and a strong foundation in being financially literate? So what resources, what beginnings, and what mindsets do you guys think someone would need to have? Pretty much how would someone get started and be able to be strong in their journey and not burn out or mess up and fumble the assets?
That's a great question. Actually, I'll jump in if I may. Probably one of the best advice that I got when I was becoming an entrepreneur was went back to the old slave joke. How do you hide something from a black man? Put it in a book. And I had to remember, and someone had to remind me that anything you wanted to know, you can find the answer. And I found so many entrepreneurs they don't even think about how easy and the access is to read about it. And, you know, as they say, when the student is ready, the teacher will come. You have a network of people who can help you understand the information that you're reading. So often when I was reading information, I mean, I didn't know much about equity investments in Series A, but I knew, you know, to read, you know, Venture Fund or whatever the book was called, but I had to learn about it, and then I was able to talk to a brother who I met at the gym who was able to explain that process to me, so that as I met with investors, I knew how to protect my own and how to raise capital. And that's just one story along the journey. So read whatever you're looking for. There is a book on it, and then there are people there around you that you can ask that can help apply it, because that's really what school is all about, right? You read, professors help you apply it, and you go out there and you go do it.
Thank you. And this is kind of a two-part question. Sorry. So on that same note, I heard you guys talk about how precarious it is to have a very individual mindset going into this. So how do we make sure to bring other people with us? How do we not have a society where we value our own individual wealth over the collective wealth? Because if we miss out on that collective foundation there, then we are pretty much putting our entire Black economy into jeopardy.
Yeah, let me.
So I was going to say a couple of things. One, again, that individual accomplishment, you have to appreciate that it's very fragile if you don't have a community behind you. Secondly, when you talked about financial literacy and entrepreneurship, I discovered, the earlier in life you fail, the smarter you become. And, there's nothing like failure that teaches you the lesson. So I guess what I would say is I would not get caught up on not knowing what you don't know. Getting into the game, pursuing your ambition, getting started, getting going, that will force you to learn the things that you do know. And if you do fail, you can learn from that and continue to build on it. So those are a couple thwe I would say to your question.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Awesome. I apologize. I'm going to be the bad person here. If we have more follow-up on that, we can probably do that and meet up maybe a little later.
Yeah, I was going to make
there.
myself available. Our website has over 50 different calculators that describe all of the things you just asked about, from time value money, lease buy, et cetera. So I'll be happy to give that to you. But it's firstindependence.com, and I'll be happy to share my number and have a conversation with you. And we also do credit counseling and credit score restoration in partnership with Operation Hope. So we could work with you on that foundational level.
Fantastic. The collective at work. All right, I did
really
ask
quick
permission.
question.
Yep, we are going to, one last question. That's what we're going to say.
Rodney, you didn't mention your DAIS certificate course. People have been asking if there's going to be a second cohort, and when is it going to start if there's going to be a second cohort? Thank you.
Well, thanks for putting me on the spot, and thanks you. You know what? Thanks for investing that $5,000 to go through it. I want to thank you, Parks. I don't know if I'm going to teach it live again, but we are producing an asynchronous version of it as well. And if you all connect with me on LinkedIn or all the other social platforms as well. So it will be available in an asynchronous format, and it'll be a little less expensive as well. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah, first.
Thank you, Rodney. Okay, so we're just going to wrap up really quickly, and I'm going to summarize, and then I ask you to seek each one of these individuals out, because everybody was prepared to give you sort of a final charge and takeaway. But these are the takeaways that I have for the group. And the first one is that, look, we are all Black Wall Street. I think we made that very clear today, that we have to figure out what part we will play in Black Wall Street, because we're all in it. Also, we need to think about creating generational wealth. That's something that's been left out of our Black and African American experience, and now is the time to create it and be a part of it. Start with the will. The freedom to take risk. That's what we really have to allow this generation, and allow entrepreneurs, and allow ourselves in order to be a part of this and to grow. And the last thing I'd say is, and I've heard it from everyone on here, is that we need to rely on the village, and we need to be the village. And so with that, I thank Zaid, Dorian, CJ, Kenneth, and Rodney. for being with us today to discover the new Black Wall Street. So thank you.
And another round of applause for our great moderator, Danielle Squires, please. So one thing I want to mention two quick things before I turn over to my co-chair, Tadina. One, we did invite two female entrepreneurs for this panel. They had conflicts. I didn't want you to think we weren't thinking about that.
Because that's the first thing I said to Sanders, right? I was like, excuse me, Sanders.
We did.
I said it to him.
I just really, again, wanted to thank all you all for being here for this conference. Tadina and I have been co-chairs, the equal partners in this whole entire venture. So it's been a partnership. As a point of personal privilege, I would like to introduce you all to my fiance who made it here, Tamika Hawkins, and her daughter Ella. Please stand. She is a double Howard University alum, proud member of Alpha Chapter Delta Sigma Theta, and is a wonderful woman. So. Been putting up with me for about 10 months here on this conference. So with that, it's been an honor and privilege to be your co-chairman for this conference, and I'd like to turn over to Dina.
Thank you. Thank you, Sanders, echoing everything he said. I mean, we've put this all together, but without you, right, we wouldn't really have a successful conference. So give yourselves a hand. Thank you for coming out, registering. It's been amazing. And while we're on the topic of Wall Street and the fact that we are Black Wall Street, we're going to talk really quickly about the two events that we have in Community Fest, right? So CJ has been a part of one of those events. And so between 4 and 6, we have two events going on. Our pillars for the Black Alumni Collective is about community connections, community service. And in this way, we are going to be supporting the local community here in Durham, okay? So first we have the event. It's at the West End Community Center. It's the nonprofit fair. With that, CJ was part of the planning committee helping us put together a list of 15 nonprofits here, local Black-owned nonprofit organizations. They will have information on what they are doing here locally and how you may be able to support them. So please stop by. That's one event. The second way that we can invest, talking about supporting Black women, we have the Cocoa Drip. Forest Hills Park, we have an event. There are about 50, I believe, vendors there. They have stuff from candles, jewelry, custom puzzles, you name it, they have it. So please go out there and support them. You don't have to pick one event. Just hop on over. Forest Hills Park, West End Community Center. Put it in Google Maps and head over there and support. We are the new Black Wall Street, so we need to go ahead and invest in it. All right? Sounds good. And so that clap means we're all going to do that. Very good. So now I'm going to welcome back to the stage Lisa Borders for some closing remarks, and then following that, Derek Penn. Thank you. Let's give her a hand.
Yeah, we can go.
Thank you, Tadina, and let's thank this panel again, shall we? So I want to start this closing with the way that Allison started the morning, with gratitude. Gratitude to all the participants on all the different panels. I don't know about y'all, I thought I was smart. Damn. I learned so much. My heart is so full listening to just the experiences of other Black folks over the years, what has been endured. I needed more than a box of tissues, right? As soon as you think you have a problem, you just need to listen to somebody else, and you ain't got no problems, right? We ain't got no problems. As I listened to Catherine LeBlanc talk about taking over the Allen building, I don't think they had no cell phones. I don't think they had any apps. Oh yeah, she had walkie-talkies, that's right. They had walkie-talkies. My point is this, and that was students in the 1960s. If you go all the way back to Harriet Tubman and the slaves, they had codes on the sides of trees and carvings. We are truly blessed and highly favored. Marion Wright Edelman said, "You can't be what you can't see." The call to action that Derek and I offered yesterday was to be fully engaged, to bring your best self, your excellence, and to demonstrate empathy. So if we could channel Marion Wright Edelman, because I had to bring the girls to the stage, we saw it in every speaker, be he or she a moderator or a participant. And I have to say, I was texting my 40-year-old son saying, this conference was exhausting, but exhilarating all at the same time. The range of emotion was incredible, but the demonstration of brilliance and resilience really brought it home for all of us. So you saw what full-on engagement looked like, did you not? You saw what excellence looked like, did you not? You even heard when others don't understand us, how we have to reach out to them and walk in their shoes. Somebody said that's the definition of empathy. Did we see that? So you guys have seen full-on engagement. You've seen excellence on display and empathy offered. You can't be what you can't see. Did we see that all in the last 2 days? Come on now, somebody. So to Tadina, Sanders, Allison, the entire planning committee, we want to say thank you. Deep gratitude. Give it up. Come on, give it up. Give it up. Give it up. So this is all about sharing and expanding the tribe. That's what this is all about. And the Black Wall Street conversation brought it all home. We learned about our history from our ancestors to present day, all the tools or many of the tools that we need to operate in today's environment. Leadership, Black girl magic, health despair, all of it was timely, all of it. So none of us can say we don't have the information. Now we have a responsibility to internalize it and apply it and share it beyond here. So I want to thank you, and I'm going to bring Derek up here to offer his remarks as well, for hanging in there all day yesterday. And we ain't finished today. Y'all heard Tadina, we still got some work to do. That's right. We still got some work to do. So I want to thank you on behalf of the Duke trustees and on behalf of all of those folks who couldn't be here with whom you are going to share this knowledge. Somebody say amen. We will see you out at the park and the recreation center.
That's right. Thank you.
I normally, I normally speak without notes. I try to speak extemporaneously, but I don't want to forget a thing, so I'll refer to my notes. What a fantastic event. Might be the best conference I've ever gone to, and I've been to a bunch of them. Certainly the most personally impactful and heart-wrenching and touching. I want to thank the BAC board for a tremendous job of organization and content. I want to thank my brilliant classmate, Lisa Borders, for inviting me to co-chair this. And I also want to thank Lisa for, when I was a freshman here at Duke, challenging the concept of a negative GPA. So I appreciate it, Lise. But I especially want to thank the Blue Devils, Dana Simpson and Sanders Adu for the tremendous work and communication. I also want to thank Kim Garcia, Jessica Emig, and Mr. Hauser for their work, the Duke staffers. I'm sure I missed a few of them, but you get my drift. Lastly, I want to thank Allison Reeves. I've been stalking Allison to see what she eats and drinks because I thought I had decent energy and passion until I met this sister. Allison, you're tremendous. I also want to say a word or two about the panels. I'm sure a lot of you have heard the phrase, each one teach one. Well, if you haven't, it comes from the days of slavery when if one learned to read or write, it was your responsibility to teach one behind you. Let's go back to our universities, our workplaces and communities and our homes and share what we learned and get folks involved and current. Some of what I learned or had confirmed from the various panels briefly. Black leadership. We are just as capable as all the majority folks, and in many cases more capable than those that sit in the big boy and the big girl seats. Go get it and don't even think about being intimidated. We belong and warrant attention. Black girl magic. I'm going to tell my pretty and smart Duke graduate daughter, Kara, that she's pretty and smart. Black girls need their black fathers. Black health. The systemic racism in the health sector is real, and as black folks, we need to take even more personal responsibility for our health. I might even eat more plant-based food, but I'm still going to eat a hamburger and some fries and some barbecue ribs and have some mac and cheese on occasion, just being honest. The Duke Sports Project, the concept of student athlete is really athlete student. I was there. My takeaway is if you're a black athlete, make sure you get some knowledge, some skills, and your degree before you leave an institution. Don't be totally exploited. Voting and black political power. I've been saying this for years. Vote at every level, local, state, and federal, or shut the hell up. And when you're disappointed about things you could have helped, we don't want to hear it. One said, if you're not at the table, you're on the menu. I heard that today. Black alumni experiences. Racism is a public health crisis, among other things. Bruce Alexander, my brother from the Citadel, despite having a terrible undergraduate experience, later in life realized that he needed to embrace those behind him. The situation was bigger than him. Unacknowledged wounds rarely heal. As I look forward to Charleston next year, I will also take heed that there is a different level of white folk in South Carolina. So thanks for the heads up, Bruce. And Catherine LeBlanc, thanks for taking over the Allen building so I could take some English classes on the 4th floor of that building 10 years later. And lastly, the new Black Wall Street. Danielle and the 5 brothers that were on this stage represent 100 more people, professional people of color, in the numbers than I've had in any sales and trading floor I was on in my 34-year Wall Street career. In other words, we had no more than 3 professional people of color on any sales and trading floor at Morgan Stanley, Lehman Brothers, Fidelity Investments, or BNY Mellon, where I worked. My takeaway is hopefully Danielle and the 5 brothers inspire more of us to come to the old Wall Street or the new Black Wall Street, or send our kids there. The new Black Wall Street, as they said, is us. The oxygen of capitalism is money. And get a will. So as I said at the beginning, each one teach one, each one bring one. And to wrap this up, let's get loose at the party tonight and we can go to the chapel tomorrow and ask for forgiveness from Reverend Wesley. Well done, folks.
Thank you. Oh, man. Oh, boy. Thank you, Derek, and thank you, Lisa, for that. That was awesome. At this time, I'm going to ask Sanders to come back up with me, and we're going to welcome our little but very mighty conference coordinator, Allison Reeves, back to the stage. And before, you see that energy, right? Yeah. So, Allison, I'm not going to make you cry. You know, you've really kept us in place throughout this entire past 9 months. It's like birthing a child. You've been on top of us via email, Zoom calls, month after month, week after week. And no, it's not big, but we really do want to say thank you on behalf of Duke Black Alumni. We appreciate you. We wanted to give you a little bit of Duke swag. We love you. And just know that you are doing great work, and we appreciate you. We appreciate you. So thank you so much. I'll cry. You cry.
So the reason why I'm crying, because I have to wait a whole year to see everybody again. And I love you. You just gotta know I love you. And Ali always gives me a big bear hug around this time, right? Because he knows I lost my parents. And I've been building my family for the past 10 years. And this is my family. You are my family. And I thank you. I thank you for being my family, inviting me to Thanksgiving and Christmas. I have family in this room, so thank you. I'm going to ask Nisa Williams and Tony DeWitt to come on up stage, because every song has a good bridge, right?
That's right.
And we need a bridge to Charleston, okay? So during the even years, this is an even year, we have a national conference. Everybody's invited. During the odd years, we have sort of a focus on leadership, right? So we're inviting board members, treasurers, presidents, chairs, etc. We'll have space for 125 people, because Charleston is Charleston and parking is hard.
That's right.
So we've decided to kind of give our capacity something that's manageable for the spaces that we'll be in. So 125 people will be invited, okay? So please start organizing now. Even if you just purchase 5 slots when registration opens, fill them when you can. Make sure your president is there. Make sure your vice president or vice chair, whatever the nomenclature is at your school. Make sure you've got a trustee there. Make sure you've got a university administrator there so that it's a full-on immersive experience, okay? So please start planning that. And so I'm going to hush up, catch my breath, and I'm going to turn it over to these two. All right.
Thank you, Allison. As president of the Citadel African American Alumni Association, I welcome you, my peers, and like-minded leaders to Charleston, South Carolina, where we'll learn from each other and we'll strive to make our organizations more effective and our institutions more accepting. While there, you will have an opportunity to choose either a Gullah tour or a foot tour of historic downtown Charleston. Gullah. Gullah is the language spoken by the Lowcountry's first black inhabitants. The language and culture still thrive today in and around the Charleston, Beaufort, South Carolina region. Gullah will be spoken on the tours. Gullah Tours explores the places, history, stories that are relevant to the rich and varied contributions made by black Charlestonians. On Sunday, as we close the symposium, we'll attend the service at Mother Emanuel AME Church. We all know what happened at Mother Emanuel on that fateful evening of June 17th, 2015. But we will celebrate the lives that were lost while fellowshipping in faith and joy with the Mother Emanuel Church family. Yes, sir.
All right.
My name is Nisa Williams, and I'm the president of the Black Alumni Council for the College of Charleston. I want to welcome you today for our event that's coming up. We look so forward to having you there, and even though we do have a different kind of white folk there, we're going to keep them in check during our time there. So some of the things that you'll be able to do while you're there in Charleston is we'll visit the International African American Museum. It's scheduled to open in the fall of this year. What makes this museum different from the one in DC, the location of the museum is Gadsden Wharf, the disembarkation point for up to 65% of all American slaves once stood on that piece of property. It includes a Center for a Family History, which will provide resources for the study of African American genealogy. And it has an African Ancestors Memorial Garden, which will commemorate one of the country's most sacred sites. Also while there, the center, you'll be able to visit the Center for Truth, Racial Healing, and Reconciliation. The mission of the center is to promote an inclusive institutional narrative through historical research and public history projects. So I know you're all saying, why should I, or why should the leadership of my organization come to this event? The importance of this group of Black leaders convening in Charleston is to bring many of us full circle. The customs, the culture, the food, the religion, the language. Our chapter in North America begins with Gadsden Wharf. The first shots of the Civil War were fired in Charleston. The great leaders in the fight for equality are from South Carolina. The first Black president's wife, Mrs. Michelle Obama, family is from upstate South Carolina. This place, this city, holds significance in most of our lives. And I'll leave you with a quote from Maya Angelou. If you don't know where you've come, then you don't know where you're going. Thank you, and see you in Charleston.
We're now proud to present a brief overview of our host schools. You'll first see a video from the College of Charleston, followed by a video from the Citadel. We hope you enjoy.
This is our College of Charleston, and this is our story. As a College of Charleston student, the whole city is my campus. Its coastal location, history, and amazing opportunities have inspired my educational journey.
From the moment I set foot on the campus, I knew this was a special place. I couldn't believe I would find so many modern facilities and cutting-edge programs at one of the oldest universities in the country. Which allows me to pursue my passions in a unique and personal way. My theater classes taught me how to handle myself in front of large groups of people. Now I have the skills to be a strong business leader.
Charleston is a truly cosmopolitan city, and the college attracts students from everywhere. But what we all have in common is an insatiable appetite for learning and the belief that we can and will make a difference.
I have learned that there are strength in numbers and that being part of a team will help me change the world.
has no boundaries. My college years have taught me how to be flexible, adaptable, and a creative problem solver. With these intangible skills, I can stake my claim in a rapidly changing world.
I am proud of my college. Now I'm gonna make it proud of me. I might discover a planet or start a business. Whatever happens in my future, my education will make it happen. And that's what it means to be a Cougar.
Our mighty Citadel. These words have a special meaning because they make us think about what's special about our college. And they make us think about the task at hand and what we can do to preserve what is special about this college, while also taking the steps necessary to make sure that this college and what it stands for will stand forever. We are a mighty Citadel with a sacred mission to educate and develop principled leaders for all walks of life. The values-based education we offer here is more important now than it ever has been. To stand forever, we must preserve the traditions that make the Citadel such a special place. The traditions of service, challenge, resilience, and camaraderie.
The nature of the school has just taught me about the structure and discipline it takes to succeed.
We, on a daily basis, face different obstacles, and really learning to push yourself through those mentally and physically definitely builds you up and makes you a lot stronger as a person.
I've just seen myself grow in a way that I've learned to be more assertive and take more responsibilities. You're gonna fail sometimes. I've definitely failed sometimes, but it's that constant battle to just be better tomorrow, be stronger tomorrow, be faster tomorrow.
When you come to the Citadel and you make good friendships, you establish what your values are in people and maybe in organizations, and look to mentor other people who are coming behind you.
My dad told me that he just wanted me to be someone and that he wanted me to succeed for me. And then coming here to the Citadel and doing well academically and holding rank, and we had a conversation about how I've become someone, how I'm being someone.
They call this place a leadership laboratory, and it teaches you about yourself more than you could ever find out going anywhere else.
Two things before we head out to Cocoa Dripper nonprofit fairs. Andrea Glover here. Yes. So you see this logo? Do you see this logo? Everybody in the room, do you see the logo? Yes. You see 5 states, right? Right. And you see the colors of the 10 universities who stood up this work in 2018, right? You see those colors? You see the triangles? They represent the sharpness of Black minds when they come together. Andrea Glover, please stand up so that we can fully recognize you. To the extent that we can, everything that we do is Black, everything that we support is Black, right? When it comes to some of the tablecloths, the step and repeats, we had a Black specialist here to help make that happen. Duke University invested significantly in this. We're at a 6-figure experience, okay? And so we just give gratitude for Duke University and the leadership there for investing in this. One last piece. Now, you know we set up these conferences like the Olympics. So we've got 2023 locked down in Charleston. I just got the news that we have our school for 2024. You guys want to hear? So I hear that this school has some beautiful colors. Is the school here? I think they should be here. Are they here? Y'all better make some noise for Rutgers! African American Alumni Alliance! Woo! So ladies and gentlemen, if we do not see you in Charleston, we will see you in New Brunswick in 2024. Come on. We gon' show enough see you tonight. I am Allison Reeves. Thank you for joining me today. Bye, guys.